I'm going to say something crazy. XRP hitting $10, maybe even $16 by next Christmas. Sounds like pure hopium, right? Well, I just stumbled on a scenario that could actually make it happen. So there I was, sipping on my morning coffee when I stumbled across an obscure list of upcoming crypto ETF deadlines. And guess which token popped up with a whole bunch of ETFs waiting for approval? XRP. Over a dozen filings, in fact, with 7 of them being those elusive spot ETFs. So in total, Bloomberg counted about 15 XRP ETF filings on the SEC's desk. It's like a crowd of runners at the starting line, all waiting for the run, at least the starting gun. Now, here's the kicker. The SEC's deadline to approve or deny these is October. Yes, just next month. Now, the SEC, who usually loves to be at least the crypto kind of party pooper, might actually have to make a decision that could open the floodgates. Now, if they surprise us with a green light on all of them, a long shot I know, it could be a game changer. So my brain immediately went, what would that do to XRP's price? What would that do to the price? I nearly kind of spilled my coffee just thinking about it. So down the rabbit hole I went in search of answers. By the way, we've got a free educational Discord server. The link is in the description down below, where we chat about this stuff all day. Feel free to join and say hi. We would love to hear your take on this wild scenario. So, the first thing that I discovered is that while these spot ETFs are pending, there's already a little science experiment on the market. This is a leveraged XRP ETF called XXRP from a firm named Teucrium. Now, I'd barely heard of it before, but get this. In just 3 months, it became the company's best performing fund in its 16-year history, like a rookie breaking a 16-year record on day one. Now, it almost raked in over $300 million in inflows, becoming the first US XRP ETF to hit that milestone. That's a lot of zeros, and it's something that the company had never seen before. Now, it tells me that people are hungry for XRP exposure, even if it's through a fancy leveraged product. And that's not all. Over on the kind of Chicago exchange, this is the CME, basically, right, the big leagues of futures trading, XRP futures has been going bananas. XRP became the fastest ever to hit $1 billion in open interest on the CME, even beating out Bitcoin and Ethereum to that mark. Now, I had to read that twice, right? Bitcoin and Ether usually dominate these kind of records, and here comes XRP out of the left field, sprinting ahead of the pack. Now, it's like an underdog story unfolding right on Wall Street's playground. So if traders are this into XRP futures, imagine how pumped they are going to be for a spot ETF where they can just buy and hold XRP like any stock. By now, I'm connecting the dots and thinking to myself, okay, there's clearly a ton of pent-up demand here. Then I see a bold prediction from Stephen McClurg. Now, he's the CEO of Canary Capital, one of the firms inching to kind of launch a XRP ETF. Now, he believes that these spot ETFs could draw in up to $5 billion of investment within their first month. $5 billion. That is with a B. Now, and that's also just a month. I had to blink and make sure that I read that right. Even $1 billion would be huge, so $5 billion is off the charts. Now, McClurg even suggested that XRP spot ETFs might outperform Ethereum's ETFs in their early days. Now, that's a bold claim, isn't it? Kind of like saying a rookie will outshine a veteran MVP. But hey, after seeing those futures stats, maybe he's onto something here. So, At this point, I'm practically on the edge of my seat, imagining what all of this could mean. So meanwhile, of course, what's XRP doing? Well, it's actually just trading around $2.71 per coin at the moment, with a total market cap near $163 billion, which, by the way, is already a big leap from where it was a few years ago, when it was under $1. But $2.71 to $10, that's almost a 4x gain. To $16, it's closer to 6x. So we're talking serious growth. So naturally, I started wondering, could XRP really pull off these kinds of numbers if everything goes right? It sounds far-fetched, right? But with those potential billions flowing in, it's not completely crazy to even think about it. So you might recall what happened when the first Bitcoin ETF launched. There was a huge buzz and Bitcoin's price rallied above and around that time. Now, even the talk of an Ethereum ETF got people excited. So if XRP gets the ETF nod, the excitement could be through the roof. But rather than just speculate on feelings or maybe memories, I wanted some actual numbers to kind of mull over. And that's when I decided to consult an AI for more analytical prediction. Now, before I start throwing around any kind of wild price targets and get all excited, let me just slip in a rather quick reality check. Now, this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. This video is just for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get back to the fun stuff. Now, I wasn't just about to speculate in a vacuum here. I wanted some data to chew on. So I did something a little unconventional. I asked Google's Gemini AI what might happen if all of these XRP spot ETFs get approved in October. Yeah, I basically said, hey, AI, give me the most bullish scenario that you can dream up, and let's see what you've got. And, oh boy, did it deliver. Now, according to Gemini, this scenario could be a real turning point for XRP. So think of it like a dam breaking. Suddenly, every pension fund, every fund or hedge fund and institution that's been eyeing crypto from the sidelines can waltz in and get exposure to XRP through a regular, regulated ETF. No more getting stuck figuring out crypto exchanges or worrying about wallets. They would have a straightforward, Wall Street friendly way to buy in. Now that alone could open the floodgates to big money. Plus, all those ETF issuers would need to purchase a ton of actual XRP to back up their funds that they're offering. They can't just pretend to hold XRP. So by law, they actually have to buy the underlying asset. So imagine asset managers, the big guys in suits, going to an XRP, at least on an XRP shopping spree. It would be like a Black Friday sale, right? But the ones kind of frantically grabbing everything off the shelves are institutional investors. Now, Gemini also pointed out the media frenzy that would follow. Right? If the SEC approves multiple XRP spot ETFs, it's going to be all over the headlines. There's no question about it. And you know what happens then. The fear of missing out kicks in for the public. Now, I can already picture my phone blowing up with texts from friends who usually have zero interest in crypto, saying things like, hey, I heard about this XRP thing. Should I buy some? And when even your friends and that kind of one cousin who always thought crypto was a scam starts asking you about XRP, well, you know that the FOMO is real. So this is, at least in this, I should say, perfect storm scenario. You've got institutions piling in, ETF providers snapping up coins, and retail investors scrambling not to be left behind. In other words, a massive wave of new demand. And then came the grand finale of the AI's prediction, the price target. Now, Gemini suggested that by December of 2025, just a few months from now, XRP could land somewhere between $10 and $16. And yes, you did hear that right. Double digits for XRP. Even at the low end of $10, right, we're talking over $500 billion in market cap. At the high end of $16, we're pushing near $1 trillion, basically entering the leagues of the biggest crypto giants. Now, to put it another way, that's roughly a 4 to 6x jump from today's price in maybe within just a few months' time. It's mind-boggling stuff. When I kind of saw that, I literally kind of muttered to myself, there's just no way, at least under my breath. It sounded insanely optimistic, I know, right? But part of me started picturing the confetti and the champagne showers. I mean, who wouldn't if they're an XRP holder? But the rational part of me quickly stepped in, waving a caution flag, saying, all right, let's calm down here. It's just one hypothetical scenario after all. Still, seeing a number like $16 pop up in a serious analysis, even as a what if, well, it gave me chills. I used to kind of joke that if XRP ever hit $10, I would tattoo the XRP logo on my arm. Well, that joke doesn't seem so crazy anymore, and I'm a little worried that I might actually have to follow through. Remember, right, I was around when XRP struggled to break $1, so hearing $10 to $16 is kind of a prediction that makes you question if you're dreaming or even awake. Now, let's pump the brakes for a second. Even the AI was clear that this is a speculative best-case scenario. Reality might decide to kind of chart a different course. So we have to remember, crypto markets, they don't exist on their own, right? If global economies wobble or some regulator, I should say, throws out a curveball, all the bets are off. It's also totally possible that by the time an ETF gets approved, the hype is already kind of baked in and maybe it's a classic sell the news dip. So as a seasoned investor who's weathered a few crypto winters, I know the deal here. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So yes, I'm going to be glued to the news in October, and yes, I'm mentally prepared for either fireworks or a whole bunch of nothing. Either way, just the fact that $10 plus XRP is even on the table right now, even as a long shot, is rather exciting. Now, it's important that we kind of reflect on a few other things here. So it shows, I guess, how far, things have actually come. A couple of years ago, right, XRP was under siege from a lawsuit and hovering under $1. So now we're seriously talking about institutional adoption and multi-billion-dollar inflows, right? It's that kind of turnaround that, if I've ever seen one, is crazy. So it must feel pretty sweet for the XRP army out there, seeing the tide finally turning in their favor. And guess what? Those SEC decisions are slated for late October, spooky season. So maybe this Halloween, XRP holders get more tricks than they get tricks. Or treats than tricks, I should say. Now, that's a kind of sweet change, right? Now, in any case, I would tell you one thing, right? It's never boring in crypto. This ride is wild, and I'm glad to be on it with all of you guys, sharing these crazy what-ifs and maybes. I'm going to have my popcorn ready for late October when it rolls around, because whatever happens with those ETF decisions, it's going to be one for the crypto history books. Now, on a side note, if all of this XRP talk has you thinking about maybe picking up a few extra XRP yourself, then just make sure that you're using a reliable platform. Now, I've been using the Bloomberg crypto exchange recently, and it's been pretty smooth. Full disclosure though, I do have an affiliate link that's in the description for Bloomberg, which means that if you use it, i.e. sign up and trade, it helps support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. So if you do go ahead and use it, thank you in advance. The same goes for BitGet, which is another exchange that I trust. There's an affiliate link for BitGet down below as well, and any use of that gives a little boost to the channel too. No pressure, of course, just throwing out some options for those of you looking for a solid place to trade and a way to support what I do here. And remember, no matter how hyped we get, it's crucial to stay safe and use reputable platforms. We've all heard the exchange horror stories before, so be smart out there. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and join me for the next crypto adventure, and I'll catch you all in the next one.